Hello and welcome to CheersToFearYT, where we combine alcohol and horror for your entertainment.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
Be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
Today we are making a drinking game for Insidious, made in 2010. Insidious was directed by James Wan and written by Leigh Whannell, who have a rich history together. They were both responsible for making movies such as Saw and Dead Silence. More specifically, James Wan has also directed movies such as Malignant, Aquaman, The Conjuring, while Whannell has also written and directed for movies such as Upgrade and The Invisible Man.
Insidious follows the Lambert family as their oldest son Dalton mysteriously goes into a coma while paranormal events occur at the same time. Looking for answers, the Lamberts turn to a family friend who informs them that Dalton is going through much more than a coma.
Just a bit of a forewarning, there's going to be some mild spoilers within the rules, but even if this is your first time watching Insidious, there's not going to be too much that's going to take you out of the film. Anyways, let's move on to the rules.
Yeah, so the first rule, of course, is death. And somehow this gave us 4 sips.
Yes, we were looking back on it, we thought it wouldn't be a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the big twist ending.
Yeah.
And there's one scene in the further where a girl kills her, I'm assuming 3 family members.
Family members, I would think so, yeah.
And then I think that's it for deaths.
Yeah, and those deaths happen off screen. We just hear the gunshots, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's implied that they did die. So we counted it.
Yeah, we counted it. I mean, you could also not count it if you wanted
just
to.
because you didn't see it. But yeah, I mean,
Well,
they're implied.
Well, just for the fact that it's a supernatural realm.
Right, they're already
living
kind of
something.
dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's worth counting for sure.
Now on to the next rule, which is whenever somebody screams, cries, or yells, you take a sip, and that came to a total of 23.
Yeah, it's a pretty emotional film, to be honest. There's a lot of family drama and lots of crying. Callie, I would say, is the biggest culprit for this rule.
The child, of course.
The baby mostly in the beginning is
just the baby crying. That's a lot of the drinks in the beginning.
In the beginning, for sure. In the end, it's the mom a lot. But yeah, obviously things pick up. But 23 is, I'd say, above average for this rule. Slightly.
Certainly, yeah.
High average if it is. But enough on that rule. We'll go on to the third rule, which is another rule we use fairly often when it works. It's whenever jump scare is used. And this gives us 16 sips in this movie.
Yeah, I could say that this is one of the big movies that jumps out of the jump scare craze.
Yeah, for sure. Or in the 2010s, absolutely. And it's, I would say, one movie that does it well, even if it does rely on them.
Yeah.
They're pretty effective jump scares most of the time.
When I think of good jump scare movies, I think of Insidious, and I think of
maybe Sinister.
Sinister was the other one. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're spot on with that. The jump scares, this movie definitely helped. James Wan in general helped jumpstart that craze.
Especially with The Conjuring too. That's another one people think of a lot.
Insidious and Conjuring, both of them. Yeah.
On to rule number 4 is whenever you see a supernatural entity. And even with their mercy rule, we got a total of 44 sips.
Yeah. A little bit more than we expected, I guess.
Yeah, quite a bit more than we expected.
I didn't think there would be any rules like this for a long time since Terrifier.
Yeah, this one's kind of bad. We might have overdid it a little bit, but it's going to just be a little bit harder of a drinking game. Yeah. You can move this rule if you want. It's almost going to take off 2.5 drinks.
Yeah, but it's okay to add it. Just pace yourself. But yeah, anyways, let's move right along to rule number 5. This is whenever you see the further or it is mentioned. And this happens 8 times in the movie.
Yeah, it doesn't come into play until later on. So I think that's pretty much when Elise mentions that Dalton's in another plane. He astral projects. Whenever we say anything whenever we hear anything such as astral projection, we can include that too.
Yeah, they're talking about the further, of course. And I do think there's some scenes where they're already inside the further and they almost extend deeper into it, and it's kind of up to you if you want to take extra sips for those scenes. It's up to your interpretation, I guess.
Yeah, I think we included a few of them, especially going into the, what would you call it, the lipstick face demon's door.
Yeah, like where I know what you're talking about. I think there's some scenes where it's hard not to count it. But then there's others where it's like, maybe take it or leave it.
Yeah. Also, the scene extends for, I'd say, like 15, 20 minutes-ish we spend in the further.
Right.
So it's not all one continuous scene, so it's really up to your judgment.
That's right.
On to rule number 6. That's whenever you see a drawing or somebody is writing or drawing. And that came to a total of 8 sips.
Yeah, back-to-back 8 sips for these rules. We see a lot of drawings on Dalton's wall, primarily. We see... what's Leigh Whannell's character? Specs and Tucker, right?
Yeah.
We see, I think Specs mostly does the...
Oh, wait. There we go. I'm Specs
and Tucker. Anyways, we see him drawing up the demon. We see Elise drawing up the demon a couple times, writing on the page, whatever. We see that a few times. And we see... I think the most important ones is we see the lipstick-faced demon on Dalton's wall when Foster's looking in Dalton's room and stuff. Like, there's some sort of foreshadowing in the drawings.
Yeah, you can kind of see it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely some foreshadowing there, so that's kind of interesting on a rewatch.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit of an Easter egg, kind of. Anyways, let's move right along to this next rule, which is rule number 7. You see the exterior of a house, and that gave us 10 sips.
Yeah, did James Wan just kind of start the whole, exterior of house for all horror movies? Because he did it with Malignant, he did it with this.
Yeah.
He did it with Conjuring, too, I'm pretty sure.
I think so. And, yeah, it's almost like one of his...
gimmicks now.
Staples, gimmicks, yeah, like, I don't know. He likes to show the exterior of a house. He didn't do it for Dead Silence, did he?
No.
There was no house really to see.
I mean, the only big house was the mansion, maybe. I'm not sure if they did that all that much.
Yeah, I don't know. They did a couple times when we went to the mansion, but nothing crazy.
Let's move on to rule number 8, which is whenever there is ghost hunting equipment. And this came to a total of 13 sips.
Yeah, and we want to mention that, like, a flashlight and a camera is considered ghost hunting equipment because they're using it to look for ghosts.
Yes.
Like, specifically when they're using it for that, that's when you count it. Obviously, if someone's just, like, I don't know, looking around in the dark, don't count it. But
there was a scene earlier on where I want to call Patrick Wilson's character, forgot his name.
Josh?
Josh, thank you.
Yeah.
Where Josh is looking on the patio, but the light dies, so he uses the flashlight and looks out there.
Right. That's not ghost hunting equipment in that
Yeah,
case.
that's just looking at your front deck.
Yeah. So yeah, a scene like that you don't count, but when it's used intentionally to try and find ghosts or whatever, hunt ghosts, that's when you count it. So you got to bear that in mind, I guess, when you're watching.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. You can include the actual equipment. You don't have to include the cameras if you don't want to.
Yeah, but yeah, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to include anything if you don't want to.
Yeah.
We'll move on to rule number 9. And this one is kind of an obscure one. It's whenever you see the grandfather clock. And this actually happened a lot. It gave us 17 sips.
Yeah, I think you suggested this rule, and then I watched it. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, yeah, we've got to include this rule. That it happens so much more than you think it would,
Yeah,
too.
and it's random. Like, it's just sitting in the bottom of their staircase in the first house, and then at the end of the hall in the second house. And you're like, why is it even there? There's no significance in the time that it's on ever when it's shown. There's no, like, there doesn't seem to be any significance in it. And I'm wondering, why is it even there? Is it just trying to be creepy? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's really easy to miss because if you're in the landing, sometimes you don't really think about that.
Because it's in the background.
Yeah,
right?
It's in the background.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. It is easy to miss. And there's a couple scenes where it does, like, I remember one specifically where Tucker is at the end of the hall and he's, like, looking for ghosts. And it's just, like, off to the side. It's like a close-up of his face and the clock.
Yeah.
Again, why is the clock there? I don't know. But it is. So it's easy to miss for sure in some cases. So again, just keep that in mind when you're watching.
So let us move on to the final rule. That is whenever somebody is concerned for Dalton's well-being, and that came to a total of 12 sips.
Yeah, it's kind of the storyline through the whole movie. Basically what keeps the movie going is what's happening with Dalton. Not much to say on that rule, so we'll just move right on to the total number of sips for this drinking game, which came out to be 155. Surprisingly a little bit higher than we expected, but that's equivalent to drinking about 5 drinks based on our 30 sip per can scale.
So it's worth mentioning how slow the movie starts off.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of the rules that you won't hear from ever, such as the ghost hunting equipment being seen, or even the further being mentioned. Those rules are scratched right off, and especially paranormal entities showing up. That doesn't happen till, I mean, it happens occasionally, like you see the guy from Callie's room, or if you see somebody that thinks they see a ghost, but you don't necessarily see it. They see a ghost. Sure, you can add it in too.
Right.
But it happens a lot at the end because they go into the further and you see ghost on ghost on ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is one of the drinking games that, like you said, it starts off really slow and then just pounds you at the middle to end. And it makes it kind of hard in one sense because you're drinking a lot very quickly.
Yeah.
But just pace yourself, like we often say.
Definitely pace yourself.
If you need to switch into water for one drink, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't be embarrassed or anything like that.
It definitely sneaks up on you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We don't want you throwing up or anything. That makes for a bad movie viewing experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, with all that being said, we hope you enjoyed our drinking game on Insidious. If you ended up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any other feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments below.
Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next video, which is going to be on Insidious 2. We're making a drinking game for that. And we'll be putting out some drinks in the near future as well for the Insidious franchise. But in the meantime, thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying, cheers to fears.